another. Here's another one up here. There's another one in here. So that's anywhere between 1,000, 3,000 BC. These figures here, you know, which you can see are a lot more obvious, including these guys up here. This is what is normally known as the Anasazi, and now the term is the ancestral Puebloan, which is really more accurate. They're the ancestors of nowadays the Zuni, the Hopi, the Pueblo tribes down the Rio Grande. Earlier, before this giant drought in the 1200s, the ancestral Puebloans lived all through the Colorado Plateau. And after that big drought event, and other events too, other cultural events they think now, drew the people out from all over the place into very specific locations, most of them by a great source of water like the Rio Grande River, which even through great droughts wasn't was still there.
Yeah.
So that's why you end up with all these tribes in the Rio Grande Valley. Although the Hopi and the Zuni, they live, out on these mesas that still to this day, and even back then didn't have super water. That's just where they were drawn to. So these are pictographs, meaning painted on, and other places we'll see, we may see petroglyphs, which are pecked in, no color per se. And sometimes they're both. Sometimes they're pecked in and then painted over the top of that. What these symbols mean, it's hard to say. We do entire courses with rock art specialists, and they can, sometimes things relate to what they find in the archaeological record. Sometimes it's obvious, like you can tell a bighorn sheep or a deer, with forked antlers, or waterfowl like ducks. Sometimes they're depicted. Sometimes you can pick out the plants, like you can tell it's an agave, for example, or a yucca. But then there's also, these figures here. Those they look, at first they look like turtles, but then they've got kind of a human head, 2 legs. Not like turtle legs where you put them out like that. So these could represent people. Sometimes these are called shield figures because they look like someone behind a shield. And they have found in the archaeology, shields, so they know they had these shields. The white dots. That's kind of anyone's guess. The closest thing may be asking the modern Pueblo people what this stuff means, but that's kind of like asking us, well, what does this Renaissance artist mean, in Europe? Because those are our ancestors, having us explain what somebody was doing back in the Dark Ages, because that's about the equivalent time span.
Right.
And so it's only good to a certain extent because, yeah, there's been some continuity, but there's also been a lot of change, too.
What is this structure down here around this thing? It looks like it's an outhouse or something?
Yeah, it's an outhouse. This is, so, like I said, there's a Jeep road that is that controversial Jeep road that runs down this wash. And it's existed, and, the Park Service would love to close it down because it's not great for the riparian ecosystem. These pools, when the Jeeps are splashing through, I mean, it's causing erosion, it's causing all the siltation in these pools. And yet the county maintains this as a, predating the park. And the park's only since '75, predating the park as a county road. And there's been full-on battles between Park Service people and county people. And as of right now, the road remains open. And so this is a Jeep camping here. And, I don't know if that was here last time I was here, but they're just trying to minimize the impact by actually putting some outhouses in place. I don't think any of the backpacker camps have any outhouses, but maybe they have. But I may be surprised that we find them.